He gets away from Kriegler, and then Kriegler meets up with Locke, and Locke and Kriegler are like, hey, there's Bond. Let's go after him. So they all get in that elevator with Bond, and here's how they laid out. Bond's at the top of the ski jump. We're going to force him to go down. So Bond can't go back. He has to go down the hill, right? And they put Kriegler at the bottom, and Deadshot Kriegler is going to shoot Bond as he's going off the jump. Okay, how's Bond going to get out of this? Well, then they have Charles Dance get on the little side slope, and just when Bond goes, Charles Dance goes out and punches him.
Yeah.
And like I said, it'd be one thing if they were doing this to again, mislead Bond so that he's like, man, this Columbo guy really wants me dead. But you're looking at Kriegler, and it's like, Kriegler really wants this guy dead. So once again, hang on, back up. Like you said, McCurdy, if Kriegler's working for the Russians, and all they needed was a scene where Christados was like, okay, the Russians want Bond dead, but I want to keep him alive. But they couldn't do that because that would give away the twist that Columbo was the good guy instead of the bad guy. So you know what I'm saying? So Bond has to go down the ski slope, and Kriegler's going to shoot him, and then they have Charles Dance come out and just like punch him, and then that leads to Kriegler not shooting because they both go off at the same time, and then that allows Bond to get away. Like, if they had that little moment where they have Christados say, yeah, my men were ordered not to kill you, and Kriegler wanted you dead, or even if Kriegler just said, you promised me that Bond would die, and he's like, Bond will die when the time comes, like when they're having their little powwow. Like, that would have been great. So I agree that it has these questions and maybe you need some headcanon to get past it, but I don't think it stops the movie from working. When it comes down to it, again, it's just all those things that Secret Service did. I think this just does it better, and I don't necessarily care that Bond isn't the emotional center. In fact, I think it kind of lends to Bond to not have him be the emotional center and allow Molina to have that. Like in Secret Service, like I totally get what you mean. Like, here's what the movie is trying to do, but I still think this is what it was trying to do.
But
had it achieved it, that would have been fantastic.
Like
I just don't think. I think it. I like I said in that episode, it's like Peter Hunt was like, I'm gonna take this Superman, Sean Connery superhero, and I'm gonna make him a man, like a flawed man, and I'm gonna really aim for this emotional film. I want people crying by the end of the movie. It wanted to have this emotional weight, and it really went for it. I gotta hand it to Peter Hunt for going for it. I just don't think he achieved what he set out to do, and I honestly, if you feel it did, that's where I go, dude. Like, good for you. Like, I would love if I said in that episode, if he would have achieved what I believe he set out to do, this movie probably would have been number one. But I just don't think it achieved it. I think you really have to fill in the gaps in your head to really feel that emotionality. I watch it and I just kind of go, I just don't see this. It's not as fleshed out as what they managed to pull off in the future. It's still kind of stuck in this pre-casino world.
60s. I mean, it's the 60s.
Yeah.
I don't see that this movie has much emotionality in it either, though.
Well, that's
Certainly
what I'm saying.
not
That's
more.
what we're arguing. I'm saying that Bond not having this emotionality is better, and letting other people have that, not
But
Bond.
I don't think anyone has it. I don't think
Molina.
there's really...
No,
Molina.
Molina wants revenge, but
Molina's intro is the only thing where you're like, holy shit, like there's some deep emotion there. But like the rest of the movie, and okay, so this
After
is something
that
I wanted to
shot,
point
yeah,
out.
it's just-
This is something I wanted to point out. Is more of like a tidbit. I don't think it's going to sway anybody as our arguments go. But there was at least I think it was Wilson had pointed this out. I was reading, and he had said that originally they wanted to do this whole thing with Molina as far as she is so stuck on revenge, she has no time for Bond. So Bond's trying to get it in, but he can't because she's so focused on her mission. She's so focused on that she won't.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to be charmed by Bond. But the movie never plays that. While you're saying that the last movie, On Her Majesty's Secret Service, is a movie that has a love story that you see doesn't work. This movie is, and it's like they're trying to do a love story. This movie, like, wanted to have a love story, but then decided not to have a love story. So
Yeah.
then at the end, they're like, well, he has to screw the girl. So we'll Put it at the end of the movie.
I never get the sense that they're the only time they even say the word love is when the horse
Carriage
buggy
guy.
guy's like
Amore,
amore,
amore.
Amore.
But other than that,
Amore.
I never see it
Yeah.
as like Bond's
Yeah.
falling for. Again, it's all Bond love. Like
yeah. No, I know.
Bond's
what you
gonna
mean,
forget
though.
about her in a week,
Amore, amore.
Amore.
Also, why does she insist on using a crossbow? Is that explained
It's
at some point?
badass.
I mean,
They I will say this, they just
Weapon of
pulled
choice.
that is from the book. Like the crossbow is something they pulled from the book.
badass.
But I will say that the advantage of it, and you see it in the end of the movie, is that you don't hear a
Yeah.
crossbow versus a gun.
I think Nance is saying he doesn't really feel too connected to the character. Obviously, I mean, I think we all love Columbo, right? I mean, Nance, do you have some affection for Columbo?
He's great.
I think that when it comes to like maybe Luigi could have been turned up a bit.
It seems like that hockey thing is just to make sense of Luigi dying at some point.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably the only thing we get out of it. Because, like I said, if you just get rid of BB, you would lose all the stuff in the snow. And I honestly think that all the snow, not all, but the snow level of the movie, the chapter, is the weakest part. That's where I kind of look forward to getting through that to get back to all the other stuff.
Yeah.
It's pretty long.
And yeah, and include but I will say though, if it's all worth it for one thing, it's worth it for.
Yes, well, you get your clothes on. I'll buy you an ice cream.
Which, on that note, I want to point out what my favorite thing about Roger Moore in his just general performance as Bond. I don't know if I assume that it's just a Roger Moore-ism more than it's a Bond-ism, but he has this thing that you can only call the Roger Moore eye roll, which is the way he'll deliver his sarcastic lines is he's scanning his eyes across the horizon.
You're only my second mission, you know. My first was Baines, the agent who was killed.
It's a relief to know I'm next in line for the same kind of aid.
I've lost my charm!
Not from where I'm standing.
I have a message for you.
I think you just delivered it.
You know, you seem to be right, 007.
Thank you.
It's a highly toxic nerve.
He's like, well, Q, I mean, I guess you're kind of a bitch. He's always moving his eyes. He's rolling them. And in this one, in the ice cream line, he does it like 6 times. He's like, well, you put on your clothes and I'll buy you an ice cream. And it's such a fun, sarcastic element to Roger Moore's Bond. And it's like his go-to move, and it goes to show that the guy just has that camera presence, because that's what being on camera is about. Is it's like understanding your presence within this. They'll be like, "How much of me do you see?" Okay, because it's a dance with a camera. So he just has that kind of comedic control to just master these fun little moments. And that's what I was saying before, where it's like chicken and the egg, right? Like every one of Moore's movies feel the same, regardless of the director. And is that the direction, or is that just Moore's presence as the comedic Bond is just that potent?
I think it really just comes down to with Moore as far as his. I mean, we talked about the whole pushing the car off the thing, right? Like his take on the character is what they nailed down when they did The Spy Who Loved Me. It was just like he's comedic and charming, and like he can't be a jerk like Roger Moore or Sean Connery could be a jerk, right? Like it just isn't in his blood to do that. I think instinctually he's like, that's not me. I can't do that. But I can be charming. I can be funny. I can, do things with a smirk and a wink, And Charlie, if I were to say this, I'd say this. I would put this movie on Her Majesty's Secret Service for this thing alone. I would say probably because of Roger Moore's performance. Not so much his plot and the story, but because of his performance, I do think he's still a better actor than Lazenby. And I do think, like, in a lot of the points you raised, I mean, yes, it's a little more tighter of a story. And yeah, we have the hockey moment and the ski thing, and it's a little convoluted, but I think that's where I would go, but I wouldn't go past Doctor No. I don't think it matches its simplicity and the fact that you were able to make a really good spy thriller mystery film over with $1 million, with a really good performance by Connery. Like it doesn't go.
It doesn't outclass it for you.
It doesn't outclass Doctor No, but I could see it. I could see where you're being like, it could edge out on Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Yeah, and like I said, I just it had the advantage of, in the same way that The Spy Who Loved Me had the advantage of being a remake of You Only Live Twice, which is still at the bottom.
Yeah.
It was able to, because no doubt in my mind that they were aware of these similarities. Even something down to as simple as Draco and Columbo. You know, this guy that is technically a bad guy, but he's helping Bond out. Like something as simple as that is like they have to have been aware. And then you add in the superficial things like the bobsled and all that.
The Luigi and the other Bond ally who only has like literally one line in the whole movie, who also gets killed.
Oh yeah.
You know, like that little piece, and it's also in the snow. You know,
and that's why I say I can't help but think that John Glenn is like, "F you, Peter Hunt. I'm the boss now, bitch. I'm gonna remake your movie." You know, like it just.
But it's too close. It's not something I hate. Like I do, like that's something I like about the movie is that it does, because I even said that. I think at the end of Honor Majesty's Secret Service, I said that every movie after this is going to be some kind of homage or callback to any of the previous 6 movies.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Pick a movie. There's a scene in that movie that is like, oh yeah, that was in this movie. Oh, that movie. Oh, the train scene. We've done that already twice. Like literally, we've done the train thing twice now. In Live and Let Die, and we did the train scene in The Spy Who Loved Me. Like we've done it twice now. So the fact that they've done skiing scenes probably 3 times. This is the third time I think they've done skiing in a movie. It's like there's a reason for it.
It does become hard to compare it to the old ones because of course they should get it better.
But that's what I'm saying. It's like technically they find a way to. Because we're going to go back to Vienna at one point. We're going to go back to many of the same locations. It's just how are they shot? What technology is being used at that time? What, as far as what could you do for code?
I mean, we're talking 15 years between
those two, yeah.
Her Majesty's Secret Service, right?
Regardless, though, we still just can't get away from our power duo. And I still don't, I mean, none of us disagree with it. With Goldfinger and From Russia with Love, whether you would put Russia on top or Goldfinger on top of that duo, none of us disagree with those dominating. And it's what it comes back to time and again is like, because again, all these last episodes with Roger Moore, what I keep saying is when we argue about the goofy, because we all agree that they're goofy.
Yeah.
But what I keep saying is I don't want to just be like, here's our list. It's serious to goofy because I think that's boring, but also because you kind of need to squint through the goofy to see the bigger picture. And yes, as we all agree, the goofy has weight. Like Moonraker just had so much, because I'm here and I'm like, but the bad guy motivation is great, and you guys are like, but goofy, it's so goddamn goofy, So what I've been trying to clarify in this episode is that like it's not like I just try to be goofy blind, but it's more like you do just have to realize like what these. Intention matters is the shortest way to put it. Where like I said, no matter how much they try to be smart about things, it's like the producers are like, well, end of the day, we need to have more. Like the people are here, like for assassins and for chase scenes and for these Bondisms, and as time goes on, we'll just keep struggling with the classiness of old versus the excellence of new technology and all that. And so like, that's why I try to just be blind to the goofy, because this movie has its own fair share. I mean, they bring back drunk guy again,
But I think that the thing that with the goofy in this movie though is really subdued in comparison to Moonraker. And even I would say that the darkness in this movie outweighs The Spy Who Loved Me drastically. Like, I think The Spy Who Loved Me is still a goofier movie. I just think it's a better nobody got their throat
cut in a car
Yeah, there was
in the
no
Spy Who
throat
Loved
cuts.
Me.
There was no kicking a car over a cliff. There was nobody family getting gunned down in front of you type things. Like,
there was
none
no
of that.
statutory rape.
She was only 16 years old.
Look,
Wink, wink.
they got all their goofy out in like a 15-minute period in this movie, from the car chase and like the little yellow car. That whole 15 minutes was that was my area of like, Jesus Christ. Hopefully,
Yeah, but it
ends
is
quickly.
fun. All that stuff is fun, though.
It
Yeah,
was. It was fun, but I was like, please.
That
Endless.
car chase though, Scott, serves a purpose. Even if the car is a goofy looking car.
I'm not talking about just the goofy car, like the way they wrecked, like their reactions the whole time. They land in a tree.
Yeah, but don't you love that moment, though, where Bond says, take the low road?
Not that low.
I like that chase scene, but I don't understand when the bad guys pull up right next to him. Like, shoot him.
Yeah.
And then she's like, go backwards, forwards, quickly.
Go backwards, forwards, quickly.
Okay, with Nans, did they want to kill him or did they want to capture him? And that's always a question.
That's the thing I don't understand, because, and this happens in other movies all the time, they're shooting at Bond all the time, and then they get the chance to just like shoot him in the face right there, and they don't.
Yeah.
Just
But then,
like-
okay, as for the backwards forwards, I think what she's saying is go backwards, but forwards, but backwards. Yeah, she's trying to communicate it quickly,
around,
so I think it's kind of fun and clever.
But
and I do
I'm
like
talking,
putting them in
that's
the
the
car.
20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes for me, where I'm like,
That the movie gets silly for a little bit.
Yeah.
It's all very
But
silly.
with that scene, it's like borderline silly, only because I think the car is a silly looking car to begin with, and
not
then
just
like
the car.
It's not
Honestly,
and it's
not
like
the
a-
car
yeah.
at all. It's the acting.
I
But
thoroughly
yeah, it's
enjoy
like-
it though. Like I really do.
it's not a bad
And,
chase sequence.
Who doesn't
It's
love
just-
a drive through the country? Like Bond is cracking jokes.
Love a drive in the country, don't you?
Like before in Spy Who Loved Me, when Bond's cracking jokes as Jaws is attacking them, that undermines Jaws and doesn't make sense. But with this, when Bond is cracking jokes, like who doesn't love a drive through the country? That stuff works in scenes like this.
It does.
Because again, how many? And this is what I'm sorry, but this is what I keep getting at, which is how many. This is like our 50th chase scene. You know, this is like our 50,000th assassination scene. Eventually, it's like, as filmmakers, you can't just keep doing the same thing because people are going to get bored. You have to push the envelope and have fun with it. And that chase scene is a lot of fun. And as McCurdy pointed out, it's mostly fun because they take away Bond's supercar and they replace it with this hilarious little buggy thing that is a piece of shit. And they have fun with that. And to where it's not just speeding away and using gadgets and all that. It's like this weird crisscrossing mishmashing of going downhill and all that. And that's where it's fun. So even the guys getting stuck in the tree or Bond making jokes, I really have fun in that scene. I just really appreciate it. And you know, and
I'll
you know,
give it that.
and like I said, when Bond takes over, driving is fantastic. Like, not fantastic, but that's just pure Bond. Like, you mind if I drive? And then he's like, I'm gonna work because Bond knows cars like really well.
Yeah,
he's a motorist,
there
so
were
he's gonna
just
work
points in that I remember going like, ugh.
It's just it's again like I keep saying, it's a reflection of the times. It's just our Roger Moore
But
era.
I will give it that.
You know,
it was different in that.
I agree. It's like one of the few, besides the hockey scene, it's like it's the other standout Roger Moore-ish moment of the movie, and I think this movie has the least amount of those. Like, it's not, it's like the least goofy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe Live and Let Die is like, well, I mean, you got Sgt. Pepper, so what am I saying? But it's one of the least goofy Bond movies,
For sure.
or more movies at least, but it still has a little bit of it.
I think Live and Let Die was probably the darkest, and I'm not making that's not racism. No,
but
cutting
again,
that.
Where are we at?
We're gonna put
6.
this movie above On Her Majesty's Secret Service, so it'll be number 6.
But I want to check with you guys
That's
to see
where
if
I'm at.
you, if you know,
everyone's good.
you guys.
Again, I
in
love the
agreement.
two. They're interchangeable for different reasons. It's whether you're in an inherently emotional mood or
I will
less
always
so.
have my personal list above this list, but
Yeah.
that's fine. Like for the show, it's like it's what it is.
These two films are very, very close to me.
Reviewings of this movie, the net of people becomes clearer. And coming into this as my first viewing and being confused, like who's with who, what's going on, that did detract from the movie for me on this first viewing. But on another viewing, I would understand it better and could see it like being higher because of that.
Which is like, not to sound snooty, but that's one of those things where it does technically lend to the rewatchability. But if you don't want to watch the movie again, like you said, you'd rather watch Secret Service. If you don't want to watch the movie again, then it doesn't matter if it's got rewatchability. But I would argue, I do think that on a second viewing, everything makes more sense. On a first viewing, you're like, wait a second, I have to rewrite everything I thought was real. And I actually really like that. I like the fact that this whole deception thing really lends to a spy drama. Like I said, my only gripe is that once you know that Kristatos is the bad guy and you're watching him do his deception thing, at that point you're like, wait, why is he trying to kill Bond so hard? You know, maybe he should pull it back. But like I said, that's the filmmakers being like, well, but we still have to try to kill Bond. But then, like McCurdy said, it does kind of, because of the Russians and Kristatos in tandem, it does kind of cloud it enough to where it somewhat works. But then, like I said, when they meet up again in the restaurant, which I do really like the scene in the restaurant with when he meets up with Kristatos for the second time, who's like, that's Columbo, that's the guy. You gotta, and you probably are gonna have to kill that guy. And then they take the candle away, and Columbo goes and listens to it, and then he comes back, and then he sets Gilf on him. That's a fun scene. But then what happens the next day? Locke then goes and tries to kill him on the beach again. So it's like, is Kristatos trying to kill him? Is Locke working for the Russians, or is he working for Kristatos? And that's where maybe one scene or maybe a couple of lines could have fixed it. But overall, it still works because, like Scott said, it's like maybe it's like, okay, if we can kill Bond, cool. If we don't kill Bond, he'll then go clean up Columbo for us. So it doesn't blow it all up.
Just a quick clarification of the Gilf scene, though. Yeah. I think her wearing her hair up does not do her well. When she lets her hair down, she loses about 30 years.
Hey, that's Pierce Brosnan's ex-wife you're talking about there, bucko. You watch your mouth.
Not his ex-wife.
You watch your mouth.
Come at me, Pierce.
Hey, not his ex-wife.
Come on the podcast.
His widow.
Argue with us, Pierce.
That's his.
Put it to bed.
He's widowed.
I was unaware that he was a widow.
Mm-hmm.
That is sad. That is sad.
So lock it in, fellas. Like this. No heroin.
No heroin. Can we call that? Can we say that? Can that be the thing? I want that to be the thing on here. No heroin.
Just on the thumbnail?
No heroin.
No heroin.
Thumbnail. No heroin.
So we are settling on this movie at number 6.
That's what I'm asking. Are we all in
She's
agreement?
11 years older than Pierce.
Wow.
Makes sense.
I was going to say, I don't think she's that
10,
old.
11.
All right, are we good
But
to
no
lock
She
it
got her
in?
hair down. It worked.
I'm good.
You good?
Okay, I'm good.
We are locking in. I don't need to say it again, Goldfinger. You know your time's coming. Goldfinger's still at number 1. I love you, Goldfinger, but please. Goldfinger at number 1, From Russia with Love, number 2. Number 3, The Spy Who Loved Me. Number 4, The Man with the Golden Gun. Number 5, Dr. No. Welcome to the Party, For Your Eyes Only at number 6. On Her Majesty's Secret Service, chilling at number 7. Thunderball number 8. Live and Let Die number 9. Moonraker, you goofy motherfucker, you're at number 10. Diamonds Are Forever at 11. You Only Live Twice. I know I gave you a lot of shit last time, but I still love you. You only live twice. I know you're not actually racist towards Japanese people.
You can't be the judge of that.
Yeah, Naniel-san.
Oh my god.